Hey Brick Bloggeteers, Will here, and today we're looking at set 10317 Land Rover Defender 90. Now, I didn't realize this, but the 90 actually stands for the diameter of the tires, which is 90 centimeters, or for us in the US who don't know how meters works, around 31 inches, which is a little over 2.5 feet. Really, really big tires. That's because it's on a really big car. Now this does go for $240 US, and you actually have a choice of 3 different versions of the Land Rover. I went with the Expedition version, which just have all the stuff that you could possibly want on an Expedition and, you know, not need to go anywhere, from the shovel and the pick on the front of the vehicle to an axe on the side, to a giant fire extinguisher on the back, to a sledgehammer on the other side, to gas can, as well as a toolbox and a sort of like a jack to lift up the car so that you can change the tires. And of course you have a tire on the front of the hood and one on the back. Plus it has this winch in the front that is hooked up to some friction gears that you can actually see on the side here, so that when you actually set it at a certain level, it kind of sticks at that level for a while. Of course, this all reinforced front grille is built off of this, so once you pull that off, it goes with it. Also, it has a actual turning mechanisms for the front wheels. Now, the interesting thing that's a little bit different for this vehicle than most others is the way they geared the interior steering structure. Is they kind of geared it down. And what that ended up doing is, in order for the steering wheel to actually turn the wheels left or right, it actually has to turn a little bit more. It's not as responsive, which actually fits how I imagined this would handle, just because most big vehicles kind of take that extra effort in order to get them turning. Another key feature of this is underneath you have the spring-loaded shocks, and you can actually see the linkages that are used to help hold each of these axles in place so that they don't sway left and right as if you're like on a camel or something that sways left and right. And that was an interesting thing to build. Now, the problem I had with this set was the fact that I came from building the Camaro, and everything in the Camaro kind of led one into the other, and it just felt like I was building one big giant model, which was a great experience. In this one, I would build parts, and then just as it was getting good, I would stop and just completely work on a different thing. So they completely compartmentalized all the different elements, and that's because, well, it takes a lot more engineering in order to get the springy shocks to work with a geared steering and so on. Oh, these long things, they're actually called sandboards, and they're placed down in front of a car to help them get out of like mud drifts. I didn't know what they were when I built them, so fortunately they explained them in the front of the instruction manual when we got to actually building them. Now, the trunk does open up. The only problem is when you get to building the Expedition model, this extra wheel does make it really hard to use things like this front trunk as well as the back door to get to anything. Now, it does have a little stand to help keep that up, and you can see the motor inside. Now, one different change that they made for this model versus all the others is you can actually choose which type of motor you want inside the car. So currently what's in there is designed to look like a turbo diesel engine, but they also have you built a V8 engine. So this is going to be the type of engine you'd want if you're going to build the version of the Land Rover that's more for street driving and not so much off-road. And it's actually very easy to just take these motors and place them in and out, because inside there is pretty much just a giant hollow cavity that only has 2 studs down in there. Just pull it out, put the other one in. The only reason why I can't show you that is because, again, that tire kind of blocks this hood. Speaking of the hood, you'll also get extra parts to build 2 other versions of the front hood. So if you want the full street legal with the V8 engine, you have an option with a very flat hood, or if you want the turbo diesel engine and you don't want all the extra expedition stuff, you make what's called the bulge front, and that gives enough room for where the engine has to breathe a little bit more and pop up. For $240, it is on the more expensive side of the Iconic line of these large vehicles, and engineering-wise, it is probably one of the more advanced versions. So you do get your money's worth. I just can't say I had as much fun building it as I did the one that came out before, the Camaro, at $180, and that was all because of the layout, but I completely understand why that's the case. So again, I forgot what the number is, but it's the Land Rover Defender 90 for $240 from LEGO.